It is now 18 minutes after the hour. In Sweden, with long nights and very cold temperatures, it is one of the impressions in the United States that Swedes drink a lot, and there has been a lot of drinking in this country, but now with a tough government policy, very high taxes, no advertising of alcohol, Sweden is now well down the list on per capita consumption. With us this morning to talk about this, Jakob Lindberg. He is the Assistant Secretary of State in the Ministry of Social Affairs here in Sweden, and Professor Dr. Eckard Kühlhorn, who's a sociologist from Stockholms Universitet. Nice to have you both with us.
Thank you.
It is, as I mentioned, Mr. Lindberg, an impression in the United States, a lot of drinking in Sweden. True? Not true? Was true? No longer true? What was the situation?
Well, no, generally it's not true. As you said, we rank almost at the bottom if you compare Sweden to industrialized comparable countries when it comes to per capita consumption among adults.
Very, very high taxes on alcohol in this country.
Yes, we have, as also the other Nordic countries have, very high taxes on alcohol.
Do those taxes considerably cut consumption? Did they drop when the high taxes were imposed?
I think that the high taxation is the major explanation to our comparatively low drinking level.
How high is it on a bottle of scotch, for instance? How high is the tax?
I couldn't tell you exactly.
40% of the price? 30%? What is it?
What would you say?
90%.
It's a 90% tax.
Yeah,
a 90% tax
price, yes.
on alcohol. That's incredible. And how about drinking and driving? What are the penalties in this country?
Yes, if you are, it will be punished if you have more than 0.5, but you can be sure to get imprisonment if you are above 1.5. Then you will get imprisonment, always.
All right, so if you have 0.5, in the United States, you're drunk, or considered legally drunk, if you have 1/10 of 1% of alcohol in your blood system. I think that's right. And you're saying it's half that,
yes,
to be considered intoxicated in Sweden.
Yes.
And if you're 1.5...
then you will directly get imprisonment. However, if you have between 0.5 and 1.5, you can get fines, but you can even get imprisonment.
How about for second offense, third offense?
You risk to get more. You'll probably get more time in prison.
How about the attitudes toward drinking? I mean, is it socially acceptable in this country not to drink?
Well, it's definitely not socially acceptable to drive when you're drunk. I mean, this is the most important thing, that we very early, I think, internationally, got it accepted that it was morally not acceptable to drive your car when you had alcohol. So that's more important, perhaps, than the risk to go to jail. But there's one thing more about that, and that is our system that the police can stop anyone without any special suspicions to test their alcohol level in the blood or in the breathing.
Well, they're now beginning to use random checks in the United States. Are breathalyzer tests conducted right there on the spot when those things are done, or is it just you just stop cars? How do you check to see if the person is intoxicated?
The police just stops cars and at a random basis, and you don't have to have any special suspicions about that he's driving in an old way or anything else.
Professor Kühlhorn, how about children and alcohol? Because there's so much drinking in the United States among kids.
We have legislation which means that you are not allowed to buy alcohol in our retail shop if you are younger than 20 years.
That is also true, becoming true now in the United States. They're setting the drinking age higher. It's now at 21 in many states. But kids still do it. Do they drink in this country?
Yes, we have even such problems, and it is in some way even allowed if you, it is not forbidden, and it is allowed if you are about 18 to drink in restaurants. And we are thinking even that kids are drinking too much, and you cannot forbid it. However, in some way, we are very concerned with the drinking of children, and we don't like it. But in any way, they have to grow up, and at some time the drinking will start in every country.
Professor Kühlhorn, Mr. Lindberg, great pleasure to have both of you with us this morning. Thank you for being here. It's now 23 minutes after the hour. We'll be back. Talking about attitudes toward alcohol in this country, and I was interested, it is fascinating, I think, to Americans that the level to be considered intoxicated in this country is really half what it is almost every place in the United States. But as I understand, there's some suggestions here to make it even lower. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. We have a debate about that. Some people are in favor of having a 0.0 level.
In other words, any alcohol in the bloodstream.
I don't think that's realistic because it's, you know, some medicines contain, and also some food contains some alcohol. So you'll get some very big technical problems with that. But I think it's realistic. No political decisions have been made on that, but I think it's realistic that the level will be lowered from 0.5 to 0.4 or even maybe lower.
Is there any indication, Professor Kühlhorn, how many drinks that would be? I mean, that's really very few drinks to get up to 0.3 or 0.3 or 0.4.
Oh, I don't think so. If you are a grown-up man and you have a weight of, we will say, 150 pounds, I'm thinking then you can drink 2 or 3 beers without to come to the limit of 0.4 or 0.3.
But that is still a very small amount of consumption. Most Americans would consider that a very small amount of consumption. Didn't you tell me that they've tried the 0.0 in Norway?
Yes, they have it. And it's a legislation in Norway. However, it doesn't work always because alcohol is in food and it must be shown, it must be demonstrated that you have drunken alcohol on the consumption. However, they have the legislation 0.0.
Well, how about treatment? If an individual acknowledges that they are an alcoholic, are there treatment centers in this country?
Oh, yes.
Paid for by the government?
Oh, yes.
See, that's done in almost all instances at private expense in the United States. Are there a number of centers?
We have a lot of private programs, but they get money from the state, from the different municipalities and so on. So it's
great debate legally in the United States as to whether alcoholism should be considered a disease or a personal failing. How is it treated in this country?
Well, in a way, I think we did look at it more as a disease some years ago. But people are getting treatment for it. So in that sense, it's people are taken care of. But in the debate, I think the responsibility of the individual has been more stressed during the last 10 years or so.
The debate in the United States revolved around whether individuals could get benefits in various programs, even though they're alcoholics, and that has really been the debate in our country. But here it is pretty generally accepted as a disease?
Yes, it is accepted as a disease. However, you are always responsible for what you are doing. Even if you are alcoholic, you are not allowed to be drunken, and you can get a lot of bad consequences of drinking. You are not allowed to commit crimes when drunken, or to take your car if you are drunken. You are
got to interrupt because we have to go to commercial. Professor Kühlhorn, thank you. Mr.